Hi, I'm Trisha at Club Scrap and welcome to the Hope Chest Page Kit Workshop. Now I hope you have your kit, but if you don't, totally okay. Watch and see how cool this method is. This is how it's going to work. We will sort the papers we're using in the order we'll use them. Then we'll trim everything required to make 8 12 by 12 pages and we'll stay very organized in the process. And then we are going to dry fit all of the pieces that we just created onto the base pages of those layouts. When we are done, you'll be ready to adhere everything, add your photos and your memories, and you'll have 8 gorgeous 12 by 12 pages. Let's go ahead and get started. As far as supplies, I'm going to be using my accordion pocket file to stay organized, and I do carry a kit that helps you make one of these, and you're going to see during the process how awesome this little device is for staying organized. But if you don't have it, don't worry, you can do the project without the organizer. It stays under my trimmer and basically just helps me use the vertical space in my craft room. And then I have the Hope Chest special release page kit instructions printed. It's not absolutely imperative that you print yours. I just have mine so I can show you the way. And then of course I have my beautiful Hope Chest kit. I'm going to set aside all of these ribbons and other embellishments. We won't necessarily be dealing with those right now. And let's sort all of the papers that came in your box. And to do that, I like to hold the paper upright so that I can see the papers. It's a little easier than if you try to find them in a stack that's laying down on the table. Okay, so the first print that I want you to find is this damask print. It's so pretty and simple, and this is the bouquet print, just in case you need some clarification there. I'm going to put that face down on my trimmer, just one piece of that, and then I'm going to add one sheet of the bouquet print. So those, one of each print right there. Next up, we need 2 sheets of green. Now, there are kind of, to me, 2 shades of green in this kit. We're going to go for the darker shade of green, and I grabbed 2 sheets of that. And next up, we'll grab 1 sheet of ivory. And we ended up calling this other lighter green, we're calling it gold. So just grab 1 sheet of that golden green, and then 1 sheet of the rose. Now, the rose and the green have a really deep texture to them, so I think one side is a little deeper than the other. I'm going to put it texture side down. Then we need a sheet of the plum. We'll put just 1. We'll put that, that has a felt finish. We'll put the finish side down. Next up, grab your Cutaparts. So let's take the one with only the 12-inch border strips on it. That'll be next. Face down, followed by the other sheet of Cutaparts with all the smaller images. Face down. Then find the other bouquet print. That's this guy. Put that face down. And then the remaining rose plain. Oh, that paper is so pretty. I love it. Okay, next up, 2 plum. So you were given 3. This is the last 2 of the plum. Then the remaining sheet of ivory, followed by the other damask print, face down. Lastly, you should have 2 more sheets of the golden green. I'll put those face down. Then flip everything over so that that damask print is right on the top, and that's where we began. Okay, step 1 of our instructions is to place this in the trimmer, and I'm going to do it so that, like, to me, this is right side up. I'm going to do it so it's 1 turn to the left, because the final outcome, that's kind of how I wanted it. Now, if you don't get that perfect, it's okay. But if you consider this to be the top, put the top of the print on your left. And we're going to start out with a really large number with this nice trimmer here. It's 11 3/4, so it's way down over here. So if you find the 11 and then you go left 1, 2, 3 columns, that puts you at 11 3/4. Always make sure the paper is nice and flush at the top edge here, and that you're pushing down on the clear bar so the paper doesn't shimmy when the blade comes down. Okay, then don't move the paper once it lands. A lot of people are tempted to slide it on over, but keep it right where it landed. And then let's slide the same sheet down to 9 3/4. So again, 9 plus 1, 2, 3. That's 9 3/4. We're getting our 3/4 practice. Then 7 3/4. So same thing, 7 3/4. And then finally, 4. A nice whole number for you at last. Okay, rotate the piece that's in the trimmer so it's horizontal and cut at 6. That's going to give you 2 photo mat sizes, and then we want to use these in layout 5 and 6. So back to my organizer, it's going to go in pocket 5 and 6, or if you're not using that, put it on a pile that you've labeled 5 and 6. This other larger strip, put that in pocket or pile 3 and 4. When you do that, be mindful that this is only 12 inches wide and so is my paper. So I always kind of have it at an angle like this so I can still see the pocket numbers. There are 2 wider strips here. They're 2 by 12. We're going to put those in pocket 1 and 2. And remember that really skinny one we started out with? We're going to put that in pocket 7 and 8. We're going to put a little bit of that print everywhere. Next up with the bouquet print, we're also going to turn this to its side. So whether you feel like this is the top, it doesn't really matter as long as it feels like the top is this way or this way. And we're going to cut this one at 10 and 6. Then rotate the 6 by 12, cut at 8 and 4. And gather up 2 of the mats, 2 of the pieces that are the same. Pocket 1 and 2, and then the other one goes in pocket 3 and 4. And if you're new to the pocket system, it doesn't matter what order the piece is inside the pocket as long as it's in the correct pocket. Then this wider piece, 5 and 6, and you have one more narrow piece for 7 and 8. Now, you are on to this darker green. Make sure you only are taking one of them and leave the other one. We're cutting it differently. And we have a whole bunch of those really skinny strips we're going to make. So bear with me. We're going to cut it every 1/4 inch all the way to 10 and a half. It's kind of crazy. So 11 3/4 is our first cut. Then 11 and a half, 11 and 1/4, 11. Continuing on, 10 3/4, 10 and a half. Oh, I think we've made it. And then all the way down to 6 and 1/4. Rotate and trim this piece at 10 and 1/4, 8 and a half, and 4 and 1/4. Gather the 2 pieces, that one from the base and the one that just fell should be the same size. We're going to place those in pocket 1 and 2. And then this other long rectangular piece, pocket 5 and 6. There should be one more long piece. This one we're going to trim actually. So the first cut on this one is 5 3/4, 4 3/4, and 3 3/4. Lots of 3/4 today. This longer piece goes in pockets 7 and 8. And then you've got 2 pretty small pieces and a piece that's even smaller. Take the 2 small ones, place them in pocket 3 and 4. And then this little guy, he is a scrap. Bye-bye. Then you have this other longer piece. We're going to trim this at 6 and 1/4. And both of the pieces, one is longer than the other, that's perfectly fine. They both go in pocket 3 and 4. And now we have all these narrow strips. I call them paper ribbons. And 2 of them are going to go into pocket 3 and 4. Again, at that angle. Then one of them in pocket 5 and 6. And then the last 3 in pockets 7 and 8. Okay. Let's cut this green at 6 1/4 inches. And then rotate, and let's cut this one at 8 3/4, 8 and a half, and 4 1/4. Let's gather up these 2 rectangles. We're going to place them in pockets 7 and 8. Then there's this really skinny strip that fell. That is actually a scrap, so you can set it aside. And then this remaining strip, let's cut this at 5 and a half and 2 3/4. Gives us 2 rectangles the same for pocket 3 and 4. And then once again, there is a small scrap. You can set him aside. And then we have our final piece. We'll cut at 11 1/4, 7 and a half, 3 3/4, giving us a series of pieces that are all the same pockets 7 and 8. And then you have this rectangle that fell. That's a scrap. Let's move on now to page 2 of our instructions and the single sheet of ivory. And we're going to cut the ivory at 6 1/4 and rotate the large piece and cut it 8 3/4, 8 1/2. That's just a little tiny move, and 4 1/4. Giving you, once again, 2 photo mats that are the same size for pocket 5 and 6. We've yielded yet another little scrap. The small rectangle that fell will trim at 5 1/2 and 2 3/4. The 2 rectangles go in pocket 5 and 6. And once again, you have a little scrap. This remaining larger piece of ivory will cut at 8 and 4. One of these goes in pocket 1 and 2, and the other 2 that fell, pocket 3 and 4. Now, just a quick reminder, if I'm going way too fast for you, which maybe if you're just starting, I am, remember that YouTube allows you to adjust your playback speed. So you could change it to like 0.75. That would really slow me down until you are proficient with our method. But trust me, with a little bit of practice, once you are proficient, you'll probably be waiting for me or putting me on 1 1/2 speed. That would be exciting. Let's get back to the trimming. Okay, with this 1 sheet of gold, we'll cut it at 10 1/4. 8 1/2 and 5 3/4. Rotate that 5 3/4 piece and trim at 11 1/4, 7 1/2, 3 3/4. Gather up all 3 of the rectangles that are the same for pocket 5 and 6. Once again, a little scrap. Take this other piece and trim at 11 1/4, 7 1/2, 3 3/4. It was the same measurements as the last time, also going into 5 and 6. That leaves a little scrap. And then you have these 2 strips also going into 5 and 6. Next up, we have some rose colored paper, 10 3/4. 9 1/2, 6 1/4. Rotate. Cut at 8 1/2 and 4 1/4. The piece in your trimmer, pocket 7 and 8. The other piece that fell, 3 and 4. Pick up the little rectangle that's left of that. We're going to cut at 6 and 3. Gathering the 2 rectangles, we'll place them in pocket 3 and 4. We do have a small scrap. Then we have this long strip. We're going to cut at 9, 6, and 3. That gives us 4 pieces, all the same size for pocket 3 and 4. And then you have 2 long strips left. Those also go into pocket 3 and 4. One more plain color to trim, so we're almost there, and we're going to do some more of those little paper ribbons. We'll start at 11 3/4, 11 1/2, 11 1/4, 11, 9 1/4, and 6 1/4. Phew, that was a lot of cuts. Let's rotate this guy, and we're going to trim at 8 1/2 and 4 1/4. These 2 pieces both go in pocket 1 and 2. The smaller rectangle will cut at 6 and 3. And place these 2 rectangles in 5 and 6. This next strip, we're going to do quite a few cuts, so continue to just hang in there with me. We'll start at 11 3/4. It's a tiny little piece that'll fall off. Then 10, 7 1/2, 5, and 2.5. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces are the same, plus you got one that's a little smaller. They all go in pocket 1 and 2. Then you have this little bitty scrap. The next strip is 1 3/4 by 12, but we are going to trim it. It's pretty narrow, but we have a home for all of this stuff. So bear with me. 10.5, 8 1/4, 6, and 3 3/4. All right, this longer piece and then the shorty that just fell from the end. They both go in pocket 1 and 2. And then I've got 2 more pieces that are the same for 5 and 6. This little rectangle, I'm sorry to tell you, is a scrap along with that other little short from previous. And then you've got some strips. You got 4 of them, and they all go in pocket 1 and 2. Now it's time to prepare our cut-aparts, and in order to do that, we need to be aware that the perimeter needs to be trimmed, all 4 edges. And there's a little message. It says remove paper outside of corner cutting guides. So I'm going to place this in my trimmer, and when I try to see the edge of my stainless steel blade on my first cut here, I can't quite see it at the bottom like I can at the top. So I'm going to cut generously, leaving behind just some of the paper before I see the little hash mark, and then I'll rotate. This time I can see the edge of the blade at the top and the bottom, which is what I'm looking for. I'll fine tune that, and then I'm going to rotate again, line everything up nicely. Rotate again. This time I can kind of look at my 12 and then get my cut over here, and same on that last cut where it's just a tune-up, right? And then I have all these little pieces. I'm going to throw those away, and we can separate our cut-aparts. So I like to begin with the narrowest pieces on the right. That's how I'll always do the instructions. And by the way, if you ever get lost, every piece and every cut is noted, and then every page that the piece lives on is also noted. So the nice part about the video is you don't have to read the instructions if you don't want to. And our first cut's at 10.5. And then 9, 6 1/4. Just make sure you're not cutting through artwork, basically. And finally 3.5. Now let's get these pieces filed. So this large strip, pocket 7 and 8. And then the next 2 strips, pocket 1 and 2. Then you have 2 more matching strips. They both go in pocket 5 and 6. One last cut apart to prepare. So once again, I'm going to cut shy of the line here. Then I rotate, and then hopefully I can see the line at the top and bottom, and I can. If you get these cuts off, it can kind of be a butterfly effect down the way. So the more accurate you are here, the better. Keep rotating, and if you need to pause the video and make your cuts at your own pace, by all means do so. It's not a race. All right, I'm going to get rid of all of my little pieces. And once again, make sure that your piece is oriented with the 2 narrow strips on the right, and our first cut is at 11. And then 10, 8.5, 6.5, and 4. All right, now rotate. And I've got my skinny guys down here. And we're going to cut at 10.5, 8 3/4, and 6. This piece goes in pocket 3 and 4. Now, if you happen to have a 1-inch circle punch, grab that. The other thing you could do is just use scissors to pop out these little pieces of art. I like to have a 1-inch circle punch. It's kind of a basic tool. I think I've purchased this one about 20 years ago. I'm kind of a minimalist now when it comes to my scrapbooking materials. I like to work with as few things as possible, but I do have the basics, like a 1-inch punch. Okay, so let's get these little pieces of art filed, or you can eliminate them even if you don't want to. I don't want you to have to like buy things you don't plan on using multiple times. Okay, so we've got the pieces with the single larger flowers on them used on page 1 and 2. Then you have 2 that have like a stripe through them and also little bouquets. So one of them is used on 1 and 2, the other in 7 and 8. And finally, you have 2 with polka dots on them. Those both go in 5 and 6. Okay, then we have these little strips that remain that need to be cut in half. So that measurement's going to be 2 inches for each of those. So I'll do them both. So we have the Live Simply and the one with the more pink background with just the wispy florals. Those both go in 7 and 8. Then we have Let's Get Cozy and the one with the more green background. Both of them go into pocket 5 and 6. Continuing on with the next strip, just make sure that the little guy is on the right so that when you cut at 10 and a half, you don't cut through anything. Then 7 and then 3 and a half. All right, there are 3 pieces that are the same size and larger. They go in pocket 5 and 6. And then you have the little guy that fell from the end. We're using that in 1 and 2. We have some nice wide stripes here for 7 and 8, and then another strip. Make sure the little florals are on the right, and we're going to cut at 11 and a quarter, 10 and a half, 9 and 3/4, 9, then down to 7 and 3 and a half. So the vertical prompt, pocket 7 and 8. Then we have the horizontal journaling prompt in 1 and 2. We have the larger floral in 1 and 2. Then a legacy and the little flower bouquet, 3 and 4. The word family in 5 and 6. And the other little bouquet, 3 and 4. Then we have our last 2 pieces here for pocket 3 and 4. And that, my friends, was your very final project as far as the trimming goes. So congratulations, you have finished every cut required to make a total of 8 pages. Now, if you were just tuning in to watch to see how it all goes down, thanks for hanging in there with us. I just want to mention that every phase of this process is marked in the YouTube description with chapters, so you can easily navigate through every process of my method. You don't have to watch all of it if you don't want. You can just tune in maybe if you want help with the Cutaparts, trimming those, or doing all the trimming, or maybe you just want to know how the pieces are used on the pages. So you would go later in the video to see that information. I hope that's helpful, and let's get to making our pages. I'm going to start by locking my trimmer and then removing it from my accordion pocket file. I'll set the trimmer aside, and from now on, this needs to lay on its back. Let's take this, I'm going to put it to my left, and we still have a pile of papers here that we haven't used. Those are going to function as the bases of our layouts, and we're going to start out with layouts 7 and 8 rather than layout 1 and 2. The advantage there is when we're done doing this dry fit process, in other words, we're not going to be sticking everything down right now. I mean, unless you want to, you could do that too. We're going to wait for the adhering to do independently of me. So we're just going to stack from layout 8. And if we do it backwards, we end up with layout 1 on the top, and you'll be ready to go. So with the final pile that we have here, I'm going to take this bottom, this sheet at the top here, and slide it to my right, so that it's kind of, you know, this is the middle of my work surface. This will be the right side of the page. This will be the left side of the page. And that should reflect what's listed here for layouts 7 and 8. The left base is rose and the right base is the bouquet print. So that's how it's always going to work. The next easy step is basically just emptying what was in pocket 7 and 8. So going to the back of the pile to find all of the things. And then we're just going to sort of build our pages without adhering anything, so that we can come back and everything will kind of be in its place. And you can even do this before you attend a crop or something. You can have everything this far, as it's about to be, and you're going to be just cranking out the pages like crazy. I'm starting out with that bouquet print in the lower left corner of the left page, and I'm going to flank it on each side with the green paper ribbon. So what's cool about this is I only used 1/4 inch of paper here, but it looks like it mats the whole thing. That's what I love. And then we can take our 3 green I'm going to put those vertically right here. And above that, one of those narrow striped cut-aparts. And right above that, our final green little contrast piece here. The rose will go right in this spot. And then we have two larger photo mats to go horizontally on the left. So that's going to dictate, if you allow about 1/8 of an inch of a reveal, you're going to end up bringing this down a little bit to make room. Perfect. Just kind of want to frame this up. And then we're going to continue that by just placing this right to the left. And then this, I had this little scrap and I'm like, that's not a scrap, I'm going to use it. So there's going to go right there. And it really does add a little something. We have a narrow piece of green and I can nest it with the journaling prompt and place it right here. And then to the right of that, I've got the florals. I could put a picture there if I wanted to, and then the Live Simply. I mean, does it get any easier than that, right? Let me show you a couple of finishing tips now for page 8. So I started out by adding some of these pearl embellishments, and basically right now they're all connected on a strip, like in a row, like you can peel them back in a row, but I just used one at a time. So I took scissors and I just separated each one and then put it in the corners. Gosh, it's like we designed it for that. Put them in the corners here. Now this is layered with foam adhesive, and now I see there might still be a little piece in the D pocket. Yep, it's in there. This little guy, I shoved him under. It's so cute there. Just kind of peeking out like that to anchor it a little. So that's there. And then I added the key. Now the key is not going anywhere because I attached it with our bookbinding glue in a needle tipped applicator. I'm going to put a link to that in the video description so that you can pick up your own little glue applicator that allows you to put metal on paper forever. Even if you want to reinforce the self-adhesive here, just a little dot of bookbinding glue just to be safe. I haven't done that yet, but I may do that. Here I did a little fake out. So I punched a hole in the top of the tag and threaded it. I used my slot punch to thread it. Once again, I'll link that below. A slot punch so I could thread the ribbon through the top of the journaling prompt and just secure the ends on the back. That's one piece of ribbon. The other, I just made a little bow with this gorgeous ribbon. All I did was just tie it, you know, like this. Just tie it like you tie your shoes. And you get this cute little bow. And then you cut your end into it like that and stick it on top. So it's a fake out, but isn't that pretty? I love that look. All right, so that was this page. Now the facing page, I did one other sort of clever thing, and you can omit this if you don't feel comfortable with using a craft knife, but let me talk you through it. So I put the ribbon over the top. So let me grab the ribbon and just show you what I did over here. I put the ribbon over the top, right? And then I took a pencil and I marked the edge of the ribbon here and here, here and here, basically where it meets the edge of this text. Then I took the cut apart over to a cutting mat and I used a craft knife to cut a slot where those two little marks were made. So from one slot to the other, one slot to the other. Then I could take this ribbon and thread it under the slot and then back out to the top, and I wrap the ends around to the back. That really looks pretty cool, doesn't it? Totally optional if you don't feel comfortable with it, I understand, but it is a nice little touch, and I know a lot of you don't feel comfortable with your craft knives. I see it all the time, just this apprehension. If you don't have success with the craft knife, one suggestion I would make would be to make sure you have changed the blade recently. If the blade is dull, it's going to give you a really tough time. And then, of course, 4 more little individually cut pearl dot stickers, which are so super cute. Okay, let's slide now this base page for layout 7 over on top of layout 8. And then I'm going to bring this one on over. So that's the Plum. And let me just check. Oh yes, the base page for layout 5 and 6 is Plum on each side, and that's what we have. So it would be a good thing to empty everything from pocket 5 and 6 and make sure you get all of the things. I have 2 little dots here in the bottom. And let's see if we can make sense of all this fun stuff here. Perhaps a good place to start might be with these 3 vertical, you should have 3, the golden green pieces. Then there's going to be a wide piece of that same color that you can nest with this cute little strip here. And above it, you've got this. Oh, it just fits in there like someone planned it that way. Amazing. All right, then maybe let's go over to the left side, and I'm going to just take those larger ivory mats and put them horizontally, get into the corner, just with an 1/8 inch border all the way around. Below that, I'm adding this just narrow strip of green. I have plans for him. Then right to the left to frame it in like we did before. I'm going to add the strip and then nest it with the floral border strip. To the left of that, I'll add a paper ribbon. And then, let's see, these guys. A row of 3. Okay, I like it. While I'm at it, I'm going to add these damask printed 4x6s. Oh, that's so sweet. And then we have some cut-aparts. The first one that we'll add is Life is Beautiful. And next I'll add just a piece of artwork. And you could add pictures there if you need. And then finally, the little journaling prompt. Up on the left, I'm going to put down 2 Plum mats nested with ivory. So bring that ivory into the foreground. And then I've got 2 more Plum mats that just might happen to fit these 2 cut-aparts. You have the word family left over, and that should fit into this. If you need to cut a little off the end, or you can just like put it down in there, it fits pretty good. And I'm going to thread that with ribbon and wrap it around the green strip. I also rounded the 2 corners here on the left. And these cute little guys, I just tuck them behind my nested embellishments here. So, so sweet. Okay, they're like little tabs. I stretched some of the Plum ribbon across the page, okay, right here, and then I added a bow to it. Once it was stretched, I cut a second piece. Once again, it's the fake out with the second piece of ribbon. Works like a charm. So let me show you on this page here. We've got this mounted with foam adhesive, and then our 4 little trimmed pearl stickers. These guys kind of anchoring them a little bit, and then my stretched ribbon plus a bow added to it. So this is a second piece. First do this, and then tie your bow if you wish. On the facing page, see, I have a little ribbon, a little pearl that went astray. So I might bookbinding glue that into place. But I accented the corner of each one of these. It just is so elegant, right? And then I added the family to the bronze charm and threaded it with the Plum ribbon, which I had plenty. And then I went around to the back with that. But I feel like the green strip really anchors it and just, I don't know, draws the eye. Okay, so now I'm going to take the base of page 5 and slide it over. And then one more sheet reveals the base for layouts 3 and 4. So I can go ahead and empty pocket 3 and 4. Oh, we got 2 little guys in there that you don't want to forget. I have plans for them. I have plans for everything except for those tiny little pile of scraps. Let's begin by putting this large piece here on the right with the edge. And I'm going to take one of these larger green mats. He's going to go here and nested with our bouquet print. I will add a green paper ribbon right here. And then if you take one of the rose strips next, it's going to all puzzle in nicely and then nest it with this guy. There's 2 ivory. Let's get those. I'm trying to like get the biggest things placed here. 2 ivory mats here in this corner vertically. And then we'll do the other nested, the strip nested with the rose right here. Above that, the green. Above that, you can add some of the ribbon, okay? So that's what that is. If you're curious, it's ribbon above it. I'm not going to put it there for now. And then one of the larger rose photo mats nested with the title and journaling combo here. We have a larger green mat right there. And then we have a series of rose panels. Now, 2 of them are going to be larger 4 of them are going to be smaller. So I'll find the 4 and I'm going to place them below and above like so. The larger ones are going to go here on the right and then here on the left, and they can be nested with the green. So if the greens don't fit, you're probably using the wrong piece. Then I'm going to have 2 of the small green pieces on the left. One will say Legacy and the other will be the little florals. Finally, I'm going to take the other bronze piece and then put the flowers in it, and then that's going to go right there. And I'll add some ribbon to that. I think that's it. That's everything from the pocket. I don't think I had any circles in there. So let's take a peek. This is very straightforward. There's literally nothing on it. What's nice about this is you could flip it any old way you wish. If you have a lot of, smaller horizontals, and you can just rotate it to your heart's content, which I do like. No text on there allows it. And then on this side, we have all the text going on. We have this down here. I used a slot punch to give me a spot to thread that beautiful ribbon. It's just such a nice accent there. Once again, pearls in the corners. I literally cut the pearls all apart. I used all but 8 of them, I think. And then we have this sweet brown. I mean, that is so pretty. And then threaded with this, wrapped around to the back. I'm going to take my, this base paper here, slide it over, and then I should have 2 gold left for layouts 1 and 2. It's hard to believe we've already arrived at layout 1 and 2. Kind of crazy. Taking everything out. So this should be empty, ready for my next project. And let's take our damask print. I'm going to put it at the top edge up here, and then the bottom edge down here. Lots of paper ribbon fake outs. So all of these plum strips are really going to help me establish my color zones here. So the title for the left says Family is the Link to the Past. And the bridge to the future will be on the right. Once again, add another little ribbon to isolate or to define the space. Anchor things down, which I really, really like to do, as if you know me at all. And then 2 vertical plum will fit nicely right here, and we can add the bouquet print. And let's do the 2 vertical green here. The larger ivory will go down here. Now we got all kinds of small little things. Let's see if we can sort things out. We have this, the longest, skinniest plum will nest with our journaling prompt. Let's see. Then we should have a series of 4 smaller pieces. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now whatever's left should, okay, doesn't, but should fit here and here. So above this, I'll add the little circles with the roses. And then I have the other circle with the stripe through it. That's going to go down over here. At this point, I think I'm just going to have you trim this piece. It's now 3 inches. I'm going to have you trim it at 2 3/4. And we've made a little scrap, and this should now fit. Yes, and it does. So there we have our last little thing taken care of here. And I want to show you my finished pages. Okay, so we have 4 little pearls in the corner here. And I've added the key, again, with the bookbinding glue. It's the only other, detail really on that other than just sticking everything down. Then on this side, we have our cute little key, once again with the bookbinding glue, pearls in the corners. Our little circles are here, and I did punch them. And I have a punch extender that allows it. Otherwise, you're going to need to remember to make sure you punch before you adhere this. So you can put a hole if you want to do this little technique here. But I love how this looked. So the order would be punch a hole into the circle, thread it just a little folded edge of this plum ribbon, and tape it to the back of this, and then stick it down. Wrap the ends around to the back, and there you go. You can see here that I punched the hole after it was attached and ran that little folded end of the ribbon through there to make it look like it's hanging. Okay, it's just like a little optical illusion. It's just one piece of ribbon with the folded edge, boom, right behind that embellishment. So sweet. Okay, well, that is the Hope Chest Page Kit Workshop. All that you need to do now is take these pages with all of the pieces kind of in place. You have two options. You can load everything into the bag that your kit came in, add the ribbon and the instructions so you know what's inside, or the packing list, and then take it to your next crop where you can, stick everything down and add your photos. Or you could just do that right now before you even bag it up. Trust me though, if you do, I know pieces will fall down into the bottom, but when you start putting this together, you're gonna be amazed at how easily it just returns back to how you have it, especially if you're looking at the instructions either online or watching the video, or you have the printed copy. Either way, it'll be super easy to finish up these layouts, and then your memories and photos will be there forever. So I hope you loved this Hope Chest kit. My mom kept a Hope Chest in her bedroom, and we would sit on it and have long talks. I would recite my Bible verses for school to her on that little Hope Chest, and I know inside there were all kinds of really precious things that she passed along to me. So I hope you have a special memory in your life like this. If you have one and you feel comfortable sharing it, please leave it in the comments. I'd love to hear from you and your plans for this gorgeous collection. One other thing about this Hope Chest kit is if you like it and you want to make cards that coordinate, we did create a duplex bonus print for this collection and card Cutaparts, so that you can take the papers that came in the page kit, the ribbons and so on, and follow a completely different set of instructions to create a dozen cards. So I invite you to join me there as well. Lastly, before you go, make sure you hit subscribe and like on this video. It costs you nothing, but it really helps our channel, and I appreciate it greatly. I'll see you next time.